Hello and welcome to our Open Telecom Cloud community webinar, as usually hosted by the Open Telecom Cloud community portal. So we have today one of our product managers together with us, Andreas Walz. He is the product manager for sure also other topics, but today he's in the role of the product manager of the FunctionGraph service. He's also responsible for some other services. You will get these information in a few minutes directly from Andreas. So with this, I will lead over to you, Andreas. Thank you a lot for having you here today, and let's have a great webinar.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Stefan, for the introduction. My name is Andreas Walz. I'm product manager at Open Telecom Cloud, responsible for compute services. And yeah, today I'm happy that you all join me when I'm presenting now you a new product we just launched a few weeks ago, which is FunctionGraph. The agenda of today, we will start with a short introduction into Open Telecom Cloud, where we are, what we are doing, FunctionGraph introduction, then we will walk through the usage process of FunctionGraph, have a look on the key functionality, and then entering the demo section. I will provide you 2 demos, and then having more detailed look into all of the components of FunctionGraph and the pricing of it. Then just let it start. So we could say Open Telecom Cloud, we provide public cloud services from Europe for Europe. So we are mainly focusing on compliance, GDPR compliance, sovereignty, security, and reliability. So all of our data centers are located in Europe. All of our operational personnel are located in Europe. So we are fully a European cloud, fully GDPR compliant, and therefore, so we can hold a number of certifications. Certifications are mainly in the area of the industry-specific certifications. We focus also on data privacy, and also having certifications are about mainly on security topics like C5 Type 2 certification, or these IT Grundschutz is a very German specification or certification, but it really focuses on BSI standards and procedures and guidelines in that area. Services we are providing are in the infrastructure, in the platform, and in the software as a service area. Like already mentioned, compute services, where we will talk about FunctionGraph today, the network services, container services, storages, as well as other services like to create own applications, analyze data, or we have also ready to use AI services for you. Not to forget security and the management of the cloud and database as a services. FunctionGraph, what is FunctionGraph about? We could say we provide you a fully managed service that allows you to write code and to run the code without compiling a program. You can set conditions, you can start functions with using triggers, and what we will provide here to you is a set of functions. Each function is doing and can do a specific task. Functions can be triggered, and the underlying infrastructure is fully automated, and it scales up and down according to the demand. That means if there are more function instances needed, then it will scale up. If there are less instances needed, it will scale down. You can combine FunctionGraph with services from Open Telecom Cloud. Now, what's the difference of FunctionGraph to other services? With FunctionGraph, you don't need to take care on managing servers or containers. We will provide you functionalities and tools, offering you and supporting you a continuous integration in deployment pipelines. You can work with that as it is a cloud native service. We will provide with FunctionGraph ready-to-use services, supporting really a set of programming languages, helping you to code and to implement your business applications. Why you now should use FunctionGraph? We can say function graph is really fast, it's simple, and it's very cost effective. Why it's fast? You can really roll out functions and functionality within seconds. And it already mentioned it scales up and down in milliseconds, and by doing so, it is high available by design. And from simplicity point of view, we could say that really the operations and the management are rarely required comparing to other services like servers. Also, we will provide your function as a service, and having a look to the costs, it's charged by the milliseconds on the actual usage. So no need to really invest into more other additional environments if they are not needed now. It just scales according to this blue line, and that is also the costs according to the cost. So that means it really follows the actual usage. Now, from a usage process perspective, you would start as a developer and write code. You upload the code to a function, then you can define triggers, which are coming either from services as a service event source, or it can be triggered by, for example, the API gateway, by an API. So having all that together and defined the function can be started and triggered here, and then it scales, as already mentioned, the instances as needed. You can control the function during it runs with logging functionality from Open Telecom Cloud and also monitoring. We have a number of built-in platform services helping you to manage and control the function and during the run later and also analyze errors. We will do that during the demo. Key functionality are already mentioned, just to have here everything listed. So we provide a number of runtimes. We also provide customized runtimes, container images, Terraform scripts. You can trigger the function with synchronous and asynchronous trigger, which are calling the function. And the cold start of a new function, if that starts, depends on the size of the code. You can completely avoid the cold start when you reserve instances. You can define reserved instances, and then the cold start is completely avoided. So availability according to the OTC, Open Telecom Cloud Availability. So it's fully scaled by design, as mentioned, and pay-per-use. Now, just starting with the demo. In the demo, we will create websites. So first, we will start with using FunctionGraph templates and the API gateway, and then we will expose a sample website. We will create a customized website out of that template, implement versioning, which is a functionality and feature of FunctionGraph. So we will have two versions then, and then creating an alias to point to a particular version of that. With doing so, we can implement A/B testing. Now, the features we will use, we will not talk about each of the features in FunctionGraph we are using now, but just a few of them. First is templates are a sample code and a preset configuration. You can select a template according to the use case you would like to implement, and then create a function just by click on this template and configure the template. Yeah. Then version management, as already mentioned, you can snapshot a function and then create a new version and then customize this new version, for example. An alias is already mentioned. It points to a specific version of a function, and it allows you to expose this alias, and the other version in the backend will be invisible to a client, to a user. That allows to create or update in an invisible way to new versions, also to roll back or to implement traffic shifting. In this case, for example, the alias points now to the magenta version, but it does not point to the gray version. Now, just starting with it. So what we will do, we will now enter to the FunctionGraph dashboard, and then we will use a template and expose this website via the API gateway. I'm now in the Open Telecom Cloud console in the dashboard of FunctionGraph. On the dashboard, you could see some statistics, metrics, and so on, what's going on your already created functions and so on. So then you have on the left side some tabs. You have the dashboard tabs, you have the templates. In the functions, you have a list of your functions, a list of your triggers you have created already. Then if you have created reserved instances already mentioned, dependencies. What are dependencies? We can say that's your storage of your libraries you would like to add to a function, to a particular function. So I have also one dependency already added because I need that then later in a function I would like to demo. Sure. Now just click here on the templates. Now you could see a number of templates covering different use cases and scenarios. We have about 65 already provided templates. You can also create your own template and then add it here in. Now, the template we would like to start is the static website hosting. It includes a runtime with JavaScript and the API gateway, and we just click here on configure. Then we can say, okay, this is the function name, say demo function graph website, for example. So we don't need an agency. Yeah, but what is an agency? We will need the agency in the other demo because the agency provides you permission policy, which are needed. These permission policies are needed in the case some services are giving access to each other for some cases. But this case is not needed. And also the enterprise project that allows you to control the permissions on an enterprise level, but also on a very granular level. We don't need to talk and touch now the enterprise project in that sense in this demo. Therefore, we always will work in this demo with a default enterprise project. Runtimes, as already said, is JavaScript. The trigger is preset also in this template. It's an API gateway. We can change the name if we want of the API we would like to expose. Yeah, API instance. I have already created an API instance beforehand, as well as the API group. We will always work with the same instance and group in this demo. And the only thing I will change is I don't want to take care here on the credentials in this demo. Therefore, security authentication will be set to none in all of our triggers in this website demo. Protocol, how we initiate the API is HTTPS. Good, then create function. The function is now ready, and this is the URL we can call the function, and I'm just here copy in this URL, and then you can see that's just a sample website. So we have created this sample website from the template, and now we will customize it. I will add my own script. By the way, I did not develop the script by my own. I just asked an AI to do so, to please provide me a static website with a green background and visit a counter. So we will see that. It's quite straightforward. For doing so, we will click here on the code. There's this already running code. I don't need that script anymore. I could delete all the content from this one. Oh, for the green customized website. Okay, good. What we can see here is just a simple website. It will provide this green background color, visitor counter, and say, hello, welcome to my static website. So we are going to deploy the code. And we could test a code in FunctionGraph. So we will do this now. For doing a test or running a test, we need to configure a test event, which provides a number of templates we can use to really test the right code. So for example, if you would like to have more object storage related template, then there is a template to test the code and so on. In this case, just a blank template is fine. So I selected this one, I say test, and its execution is successful. What is maybe interesting here, you can see also not just that it is successful, you could also see the execution duration, the memory which was consumed, and also the billing duration, which is always up-rounded to the next millisecond. This is the customized website. I have deployed it. Now just move to the configuration, as we have already a trigger for that, and it is the same URL as before. I just use the same trigger and click here on F5. Now it's just counting up the visitor counter, and that's it. So far, this is what we have done. We have customized the website. We have now a green website. Now we would like to create two versions of that customized website and end up with a green version and a red version. For that, we will move to the tab of version and publish a new version. This is already the green website. Green demo website. So that's the first version we will create. When we create a new version, the code is copied into the new version from the default function and so on, but we need to create a trigger. So that means we will now create for each of the versions a new trigger. It will be again API gateway. So just everything as it is, just as before. Click here, and it creates a new API endpoint and also a new URL. Now I copied this one in, open another tab. It's still the green website. Now moving back to the function default, and then I'd like to change the code because I'd like to create a new version. Yeah, I'm changing the code now. Just changing the background. Deploy it. Now moving to version again, say publish new version. What was the name? Red. Let's say red. Website. Click here. So I have created now a new version. Also need to create a new trigger. There is no change to the configuration of the trigger. It's just the API gateway. Now this is a new one. And if we copy this here in, then you will see a red one. So that's now the other version. So what we have done, we have created two versions of this customized website. Now starting to create an alias and to activate traffic shifting. By doing so, as said, we can really do A/B testing on a website. Now, moving back to the function, here we have the tab alias and create an alias. That's the A/B, so that's the name of the alias, A/B test. Then we can select version where the alias will point to. In this case, we will select both. Yeah? First the red one, then activating the traffic shifting. And by the way, we can decide on the traffic shifting if it will shift the traffic based on percentages or on rules like the header or anything else. In this case, now we add the other version. So the green website, and we just will shift the traffic 50% to 50%. Just click here. OK. Now I have my alias. This alias needs again a trigger. Trigger will be again API. And now we expose this API to the web, copy it. And now you will see a green and a red websites. So I'm clicking here on F5 and it's switching from time to time. There is not a switch based on the amount of the visitors. The switch is based on the traffic. Therefore, it will not switch to each, let's say each time. Yeah, it can switch each second time also, depending on the traffic. Yeah. Now, what we have done, we have implemented that aliases. We have implemented these A/B testing, the websites, the customized websites. The services we have in use for that, one side is a function graph, the function graph templates, an API gateway, and the JavaScript runtime. Yeah, it took us a few minutes, and the costs are purely usage-based plus the API gateway, and we did not need any development skills for that task. The next demo I'd like to give will use another trigger. So object storage services are an Open Telecom Cloud service which holds objects in a storage. Yeah, and the object storage service will now trigger the function when an object will be created, and we will log the activities here with another service from OTC, which is log tank service. We need that because we will create a problem, so we will have a problem and we analyze that then. Yeah. Now features are used, the object storage as a trigger, and once we upload an object to a bucket in the object storage, it will trigger a function. This created object will trigger the function. This is now a different kind of a trigger, which is event-oriented instead of HTTPS-oriented. Now the logging, this log-tank service, and by the way, these platform services like the log-tank service, the monitoring services, they are just used for, they can be used for free. Yeah, so that's the difference to competitors. Yeah, therefore you need to pay a lot of money for this kind of functionality. Now with the log-tank service, as said, it logs the running function and it stores this log data, and you can then analyze later on. Now, starting with it, we create object storage buckets, which we will use to upload, in this case, pictures. Then the picture will be uploaded and then manipulated, and then we need another bucket where the outgoing, so the manipulated picture will be stored. So we will create two buckets for that. We create a function from the scratch, not from the template. That means a bit more click here, click there. We add dependencies, so the libraries we need for the scripting. We add the scripts to copy the picture, to manipulate the pictures, and as well, we now need to work with credentials because object storage requires that, and activate the logging, create the trigger for object storage, and then trigger the function with object storage, analyze the log-tank service logging data, fix the problem, start again, and evaluate the results. Now creating the buckets. To create the buckets, we will now enter the object storage service console, and you can see the buckets already created. We create here the bucket name in FunctionGraph files, and we just will let everything in the default as it is. Enterprise project default. We can, for example, add a tag. Now the owner, that's me. Bucket is created. Now create the other bucket. Default enterprise project. We can also add tag if you want. Now my colleagues knows that I'm the owner of the bucket, and just to zoom it in. So you could see I have created these two buckets and there is nothing in, right? So these two buckets are created. Now we will create a function. We will copy scripts. We will add dependencies and the credentials. For this, we need to enter the FunctionGraph console again. And we can see here, okay, this is the list of our functions, and we now create a new function from the scratch. Event trigger type is event function, and function name is then maybe ops demo function graph. In this case, we need to have an agency to, as already mentioned, to manage the permissions between and the access between the services. Now using the enterprise project, the runtime in this case will be Python 3.10. So that will create the basic function, yeah. And then I have two scripts I need to copy in here. One is the index one. Second. So deploy this one. Then I create another one. I'm calling it segmentation. Just deploy the empty one and then adding the other content. So deploy it. Okay. What we have in the scripts here. So we have one script which will import now the dependencies, the libraries. I just need to add these libraries, but it will add that libraries we need later on. We define some parameters like the buckets which are used. So I have created now by purpose the buckets with the same name as it is in the script, and then it defines the parameters where the access keys can be found, and yeah, uploads, downloads the picture, the objects which are then in the bucket for the manipulation. So therefore here we will manipulate just the pictures, we will compress it and straighten it and so on. Now just scrolling down, and here there's the section of the dependencies of this particular function. And I'm gonna add now my private dependencies, these libraries I have already in my storage. And as I have only one set of dependencies in my storage of the functions, it is pre-selected. Now I have added the dependencies. I created this from the scratch, this new function. I copied the picture, scripts in it. Now I'd like to, add the credentials. This adding the credentials, I will add it here in environment variables, but I won't do this on the shared screen. So please give me a second to add my keys here. So the key ID, then the secret. Okay, save it. Yeah, thanks for your patience. Now I added these keys, and then we need to activate the logging to find the problem. Then later on, I have predefined a log group. It's quite straightforward, and a log stream in order to get the connection done between the logging and this function. Now we need to create a trigger. Now that will be a different trigger. It won't be the API gateway, it's the object storage. And we need now to select a bucket name, which will listen to newly created objects. So it will be the bucket name I just created. And you can define events which trigger a function here. Yeah, in this case, it's predefined with object created, but you can also define other events. So the event notification name can be changed, but we'll leave it as it is. You can also define prefix or suffix, and here it's a hint. Yeah, you should have two buckets, because if you for the incoming and outgoing object or changed object, otherwise it can create recursive invocation, which will result in high costs. So that's a hint here. Now just click on OK. Now we have the trigger, we have the logs activated, the credentials added, everything is here. Then we can start moving here to the in bucket and then upload object. So I have a picture, just sharing this picture with you. It's nothing special, it's just a letter, but yeah, it needs to be straightened and also compressed because it's a larger one. So now I'm uploading here. Yeah, okay, it's already uploaded. That was fast. The OPC Object Storage Console, and you could see, hopefully that is large enough. 1 second. Yeah, you can see I uploaded this object, and there is nothing in the outbound or in the out bucket. Yeah, which is a pity, because we should have here the manipulated picture. I can here refresh. I can refresh. Nothing happens. So seems we have a problem. Now, in order to see and analyze the problem, I click here on the monitoring tab. Okay. We have already the logs available, which is nice. We can see the log. This is the timestamp, and I think, yeah, 10:38, that was when the function was started. And you can see already a summary of it and the cause of the problem. So you can see it's yellow. Invocation timeout. That's timeout. Okay. We can also have a look to this request ID and what happened in more detail. Make it full screen here. So you could see then the timestamp when anything is started here. And okay, it's a load timeout. In this case, is quite simple because I know the problem. In other cases, you might need to have more details, which you can also activate. However, in this case, we just used the default basic settings, which is nice, but for object storage, the execution timeout with 3 seconds is too short. So I'm changing here to 30 seconds. I as well would like to have more memory available. By the way, that does not mean that your function will consume this amount of memory. It just you allow the function to consume this amount of memory, not that you really consume it. Now I'm saving and then moving back to the object storage. I'd like to delete now this object and upload it again. Copy in, upload. It's uploaded. And now on the console, I also type here F5. Okay. Now we could see in the out bucket that there is an object. And the first view, we could already see that, yeah, this object is smaller from a sizing perspective compared to the incoming bucket. So in this case, we manipulated the picture and compressed it. Now we would like to compare the two pictures. I download it. It can take a short period of time. During this waiting, we can have a look to the monitoring area. Okay, it's already uploaded. 1 second. So that is the incoming picture. And now we will go to the out and download this one. Can also take a short period of time. That means I can also show you in the meantime another thing. So click here on monitoring, and you could see now this runs well, this function here, and everything is green, no problem here. We can also check in detail, but that's not needed as we do not have a problem. Now it was just downloaded this other picture, the manipulated picture. You could see it's now straightened and compressed. So that was the next step. We triggered FunctionGraph by the added objects. In the object storage, we manipulated that. We logged the activities, and we could see the changed picture in the out bucket. Yeah, that is what we did. And now just moving into the FunctionGraph components. Yeah, because we have really a number of functionalities available, and they all are fitting together in order to create an easy to use environment. Yeah. All starts with the request. The request can come from a user or from a script. It initiates the process of creating a function and starting the function. And we have a number of tools to create a function and also to manage and control a function. Now, the user or an HTTPS triggers now via API gateway the creation of a function, or it could be created, as we have seen. Now, the two triggers in the demos with object storage or with the API gateway. There are also other services, platform services from Open Telecom Cloud, which are allowing to trigger a function. So now we have seen that we have used the template to create a new function, but there are also container images, Terraform scripts you can use, shell scripts, and these programming languages can be used as well to develop your function. Now, to develop, you could use CLIs, you could use graphical tools we provide to you in order to code your function. We have a number of other functionalities to implement conditions and the conditional branch, way to proceed to the next steps, and so on. You can manage now when a function will be started, under which condition it will be started or not, and so on. We have seen some of that in the demo. And in the demo as well, we had a look to the logging functionality of logging services, but there are more for the monitoring, Cloud Eye services, or the trace service to have more details on the tracing in order to control your function. And yeah, permission management is possible with the IAM from Open Telecom Cloud, and there are also FunctionGraph specific policies you can manipulate and change according to your needs, and you can also manage the permissions on a very granular level with the projects in Open Telecom Cloud. From pricing perspective, the FunctionGraph, as mentioned, is pay per use. So we have two pricing items. The pricing are based on the number of requests which are activated or triggered, and the execution duration of a function, including the memory which was consumed. But if a function is not running, there is no charge. It doesn't matter how much functions you have created in the same, when they are not running, they are not charged. Now, the pricing table is as follows. So one is with the requests, and you will be charged per 1 million requests with 17 euro cents. By the way, the pricing here EUDE. So at present, FunctionGraph starts just within the data center of in the region of UDE. And now in next future, we would like to also enhance that to another region, to the Netherlands region, yeah, but we start now with EU-DE region. And then execution duration has the unit of gigabyte hours. That sounds a bit uncommon, maybe. What does this mean? Just an example. If all the functions are consuming the memory within 1 month of 1 gigabyte, and the function is running, or all the functions together are running for 1 hour, then you have 1 gigabyte hour, and then you are charged with 5 euro cents. Yeah, just to summarize that, the benefits of function graphs. You have the auto-scaling functionality. It scales up and down according to the needs. It is cost efficient. You don't need to take care on managing servers or anything else. So you can implement everything with functions which are triggered. Also the cleanup of some stages. So all that can be done with the functions. It's easy to use. We provide you environments for the CL, so command line interfaces and also graphical user interfaces. And you can also use already existing container images or Terraform scripts and so on. And the pay-per-use is the pricing approach. So far, thanks for having me here. And then I'd like to hand over back to you, Stefan, for any questions.
Thank you a lot, Andreas, for this great webinar and for this great presentation here. I think we got very cool and detailed insights into the functionality of our new release service called FunctionGraph. And as you already mentioned, now we come to the next point of this session here, which is the Q&A session. Let's start top to bottom here. So one participant has the following question. Do we have a basic plan at no charge for daily requests, like the first 20,000 reading requests a day are free and after that we charge, or is it charged directly from the first elements?
It is charged directly from the first elements. The first time is now for free till the end of the June. But we thought by ourselves, okay, would we like to implement now a free tier, or we start just from the first function without the free tier? We decided by ourselves to just create a very attractive pricing, because if you look to the free tier of competitors, it's really not possible. Oh, it's hard to get really a production-like environment with the free tier, and you spend you save maybe a few cents, but it's not much. So therefore we decided not to create an extra free tier whatsoever, but having a very attractive price at the beginning.
Cool. So thank you a lot. And I would say with this, we are at the end of the time. Thank you a lot, Andreas, one more time for having you here. Thank you a lot for this great presentation. Also, thank you to everybody who has joined this session, and see you in the next webinar, as usually hosted by the Open Telecom Cloud Community Portal. Every month you will have here at least one webinar. Looking forward to see you in the next one.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.